Do not adjust your radio dial. You are tuned in to the Mark Order Podcast. Join the Mark Order.
It's Wednesday night. You know what that means. Mark Order back in full swing. All three of us back here finally. We have not had a full cast. Certainly no fault of me not being here at all for literally the past month. Very, very happy to be back home here at the Mark Order, though. I was at Fightful responsibilities for the first 2 weeks of the month, and then I was actually at the past two Dynamites in Wilkes-Barre and at Grand Slam last week, which was such a fun experience. But I missed my home hub. I missed both of you fellers. We have so much to talk about with the 5-year episode. I'm just going to retweet our linkity link that we are live and on air.
Now that I can't just count on Twitter for it, I have to actually put a link out there.
I know, those bastards, but we're going right into Wrestle Dream, coming right out of Grand Slam. It feels like All In and All Out were not that long ago either. We're in a hell of a cycle for AEW. And we, of course, have this Warner deal to talk about as well. We're going to get into kind of our news and notes here at the beginning of the show and dive into Dynamite. I know we're later than usual, so thank you to everybody who is tuning in late with us. But more important than any of that is Joe went to Casa Bonita, okay? Like, the Casa Bonita. Warner, sure. The return of Jay White, yeah, we're going to talk about it all. But, like, 60% of this episode or more should be talking about Joe's experience at Casa Bonita. You also went and saw something corporate, right? Out in Denver? That's great. Good for them.
Huh?
Whatever. You went to Casa Bonita. You and I saw the outside. I think we touched it like WWE wrestlers touched the cage before Hell in a Cell of like, is this real? Is this structure a real thing? It was beautiful. It was pink. It was stucco. It was ridiculous. But we couldn't get on the wait list, Joe. But you savvy son of a bitch. This time you went out there. You went to Casa Bonita. We're going to talk about wrestling, but I would like you for the next 2 hours to talk to us about your experience in great detail.
Well, to be fair, we didn't have reservations back then, but I had since signed up to be on the list.
Sure.
And
I don't know if it was properly open. I think they were like soft launched, so I don't even know if we could get in.
And it still took me, from that point to now, so over a year to get on that list, to get an email to get on. So,
oh my God.
Yeah, I had booked my reservation for my lunch back in May, I think.
I'm so glad you went for real. Like, I know I was being kind of silly over here, but like, what a blast.
I have a hoodie.
You have the hoodie on. That's actually, I'm not going to lie, that's a nice hoodie. It's got like that vintage 70s sunset kind of feel on a bright blue. That's not bad merch.
So it was, like I said, I think it was everything that I thought it would be and everything that South Park made it to be.
I just, was Butters able to join?
I did not see him.
Okay.
There are a lot of other people.
That's fair.
But, I mean, from the mariachi music when you walk in to having announcements about the magician show. I'm sure it wasn't Nigel level, but, a magician.
Nothing is.
They had the puppet show going. You had, face paint. You had, balloon animals. You had a person dressed up as a gorilla, harassing you for food with handlers. And the handlers are telling you not to feed the animals as this poor bipedal gorilla is begging for food.
Casa Bonita.
It was.
Did you go down any water slides?
I did not. I did watch the divers jump off their cliff. They all looked like RJ City.
Pieces in the chat asking Nigel residency at Casa Bonita when. That's a really good question. That's just the way I would shell out money, I would be buying people's reservations to get to that. But we do want to thank everybody joining us in the chat. I know it's a late one today, but Big G, Scott George, Lord Kev, who absolutely rules. He's always tweeting out our stuff. We appreciate that so much. Pieces. Thank you for joining. I know this is a late start.
Joe, I have a question. Were you thinking that maybe when the room was empty, maybe when the bottle's full, maybe when the door gets broke down, love can break in?
Did you have to Google lyrics for that?
No, I know something corporate.
Oh, okay.
That's actually,
I could be your Constantine.
Please don't be. I prefer you not to be.
Joe,
My Constantine was my waitress at Casa Bonita, and that was...
Oh, we wanted Joey Bonita to do it.
We did. We got to see pictures of Joey Vegas, and I was like, Joey Bonita has to come out. I feel like you missed an opportunity at True Love there, but I'm so glad that you had. It sounds like a great time. What did you refer to it like as Rainforest Cafe on drugs or something?
Yeah, basically Rainforest Cafe on PEDs. Like, it was just cranked up to 11.
Oh, that's so great. Did you buy an absurd amount of vinyl, or is that like just a me thing?
I did not. I thought about going to the record store, because it wasn't that far away, but I was getting to the point of having to fight rush hour traffic in Denver. So
Not worth it. If you are newer to the show, I met Joe out in Denver. I was speaking at Podcast Movement just over a year ago. That's when we got to see the outside of Casa Bonita, but I was speaking at a podcast conference there. I like to get vinyl at local record shops as a souvenir where I go. It's just kind of like a fun thing. And Joe did, poor guy. We were in there for hours. I had a paycheck to burn that time, and I spent so much money, but even more time, really. At that record store.
It was fascinating watching you kind of argue within yourself and have, you're bargaining, you're trying to resolve what decision was best to be made.
God, Sophie's choice of it all, man. Like, I have a very diverse listening palette, so I came home with like Coltrane, and also I think did I get Tesseract on vinyl there? And Run the Jewels 4, but like the Quattro edition. Like it's a champagne problem that I had, and Joe saw the process of elimination and the tears that were almost shed this time last year. But I was saying to Ryan before we got on air, it's nice to actually see your faces. I haven't seen you guys face-wise in a month. So.
I think since you saw us. Oh no, we might have had one episode after DC.
I think we did. I think we had one episode after DC, and then I was out for literally a straight month. But also Ryan is here, so let's get into.
Princess, I can be your garage. Now it's gonna be in my head all fucking night. Thanks, Joe.
Ryan, it's not Joe's fault.
You went and saw them. Which puts it in my head.
Saw them. Mr. Philly accent. It's baseball playoff season. The hatred is even gonna be more ramped up between Ryan and I. But sincerely, Ryan, how you doing? You had a nerdy weekend filled with nerd things. You're in full swing there. But how have you been for the past freaking month? But more recent, because we talk in between.
Just been living La Vida Loca, quarter mile at a time.
You gotta live La Vida Bonita, you know what I mean?
I wish. If it were anywhere close, I'd be at Casa Bonita all the time.
Oh my God, I would be finding excuses.
Bonita.
We have a mutual friend in Greg. The way all of his children would be having birthdays at Casa Bonita by my insistence would be...
Oh, you think he would need your assistance? He would just be doing it for himself.
That's
and somehow
true.
the kids would always be forgotten.
One of my earliest Greg memories was we were watching South Park, and it was the and here's Deary the deer, the sacrificial animals episode. And here's Chickadee the chickadee. Good times with that guy, Greg. But we have a lot to get into. Feel free to chat along with us. We always appreciate it. Before we dive in, if you could leave a thumbs up on this video, it helps us a whole lot. It helps people find us.
Hold on, Kate, real quick. I need to address something. And it's not a bad thing. Hold on. Wrong thing. Lord Kev wants to know are the levels of excitement making an appearance this evening. They will for you, Lord Kev.
Aww. Jesse Ozog in the chat. Hi, Jesse Ozog.
Now that Kate's here, fuck you, Jesse Ozog. I'm only nice when she's not.
Jesse Ozog saying, fuck the Astros. On the right side of history again. Astros and Orioles getting eliminated today.
The Astros is a good take. Disliking the Astros.
Mm-hmm. Get it.
I don't really hate the Orioles. I mean, they're never successful, so why should I hate them?
I don't either, but they are like an interdivision rival, so I feel like I kind of have to a little bit. But it's so weird. I was talking about this with a friend of mine earlier. Like the Yankees, this is one of the few years we didn't get like the heart palpitation wild card game from my team. And I'm like, I don't know if the Yankees are good. They won over 90 games. And I'm like, I still don't know if this is a good team. I sincerely feel like they could win the World Series if they feel like it that day. Like, this team never looks inspired to me, ever.
The first half of the season, I was very inspired. The second half, not at all by the Phillies, because they were, the Dodgers got best record, but the Phillies could have. Like, they were right there with them. So they're that good of a team, and yet I don't have any confidence going into this playoffs.
It's a weird baseball season. I feel like the way that the game is shifted, this is kind of a consequence of that, where incomplete teams or teams that don't feel like they should be World Series worthy are kind of really, really, really in the hunt. But this is not a baseball podcast. This is
also because too many teams make it.
That's part of it, but I kind of feel like that about. I feel like the Phillies might be the most complete team, and when they're playing well, but their pitching has fallen
a little bit, yeah.
So,
but what didn't fall off is the pay that AEW is going to be receiving.
We're going to talk about that in a second. Let's rip through some of these kind of more minor topics that are still worth covering, and we will talk about that Warner deal. But there's a lot to talk about. Some more unfortunate news, but definitely something I still wanted to bring to light as we are an AEW podcast here. Killswitch Luchasaurus with a very, very brutal case of pneumonia, putting him out of action. Really scary situations, man, that happen with wrestlers' bodies, not just with injuries you see in the ring, but stuff like this. Just of note, not a ton to say there other than that we hope he gets well. Also kind of on the injury front, Adam Cole expected to return soon, which is great news. We're starting to see these returns coming up. We're going to talk about Jay White later. Samoa Joe is imminent. Kenny is still lurking around. So there's some good stuff there, as well as outside of the injury picture, potential people returning just from signees, right? Daniel Garcia, I've heard, expected to return. We'll see what that looks like. MJF obviously out shooting a movie right now. So there's a lot of people that are still working their way back into the fold. But Joe, we got Killswitch going out with unfortunate circumstances. Adam Cole possibly returning. We saw that Darby Allin's got an open challenge in Seattle at WrestleDream. Do you think Adam Cole Bebe is the one to answer that challenge? And anything you want to say about Killswitch as well? I know that's a bummer.
Yeah, that's the unexpected things that pop up, like double pneumonia. I mean,
I think when you think like wrestling, you're like torn meniscus or ACL or neck injuries or whatever, but like double pneumonia, Jesus.
Yeah. And then I don't know. I feel like if Adam Cole's coming back. Sorry. Yeah. Thank you, Brian, for doing the Bebe. I don't know. I feel like that would be I feel like you need to come back with some involvement, probably with Undisputed Kingdom.
Undisputed Era
Kingdom, yeah, whatever they're called.
It's Undisputed Kingdom.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if you jump right into a program with Darby on an open challenge. I feel like that could be something else of a one-off for someone.
I am forever rooting for Ricky Starks in that position. A lot of people just making leaps that he was going to NXT. I think he probably would have debuted by now if that was the case. But everything that I have heard and all the reports that I have read from reputable sources, including where I work at the other place, say that he's still contracted for a little bit now. So, Ryan, anything that you want to say about Killswitch? And if not the Darby Allin Open Challenge, where do you want to see Adam Cole Baby return?
So the kill switch thing just sucks. There's not a lot to say there. That just sucks. And just goes to show that you could be in awesome condition, you can do whatever. And I'm assuming you don't look that way if you don't live a mostly healthy lifestyle, and shit can still get to you. So that just sucks. I hope he, recovers quickly. I mean, I think at this point, faith that he's going to recover just quickly for his own sake. But take whatever time he needs, because dear God. And what sucks about pneumonia is anyone I know who's ever had it, and I've known a few people who've had it, is it's not just while you have it that there's an issue. It's that fucks with your lungs for a long time.
Yeah, the recovery on that can be a lot. I don't even know what a double pneumonia does to you, but I've had like family members that had not severe cases and they were out for a month just because it takes forever for your lung capacity to come back. I had COVID 4 times and my lung capacity is still struggling, and it's a year and a half later from the instance that caused it. So that's a tough one, and for athletes you just hope for the best for that for sure. But any thoughts on the Baby?
I don't think he can come back for Darby. The only reason being is that I think he's going to come back to Cheers. I know he was last as a heel, but injury is instant face turn. There's very, very rare times that a guy comes back after an injury, or even just a long absence. It doesn't have to be injury, and he's not face. I mean, look, to use one right now, look at WWE, where Roman Reigns comes back and is basically face now, and he was the mega heel. And nothing, I mean, granted, yes, he's fighting against the bloodline. I'm not getting into that, but character-wise, not a whole lot changed. But you go away and you come back and people love you because they want to see you wrestle. So
we also
it'd be hard to
kind of get like at Grand Slam, we got a handshake between Roddy and Hook, which felt like that was very face-like behavior. So it feels like maybe they're realigning for that to be a face faction, which honestly, I feel like AEW could use some face factions right now. So not a bad way to go. Yeah. So
I'm trying to think of who. I think he's going to come back saving someone. I don't think he's going to come back. I don't know why. I don't know who he'd be saving. I just feel like that's how you're going to maximize his pop. Is that like someone's getting a beat down and then, his music hits and it all goes the boom.
Yeah, that entrance is going to be even more over than usual. But
wait, there's an echo.
There is. Hello? It went away.
Did it go away?
Who it was. Yeah, it went
Thank
away.
God, I don't like hearing myself, guys.
Well, I'll leave the floor open to you guys then. Who do you think answers the Open Challenge? I also see some more people filtering in the chat. Eric Freeds, Kevin Hale, who was a new follower of mine on Twitter. Thank you so much. We got a good crowd hanging out late with us tonight, but who do you guys think answers this Open Challenge?
I saw it on Twitter, so it's not my original idea. I don't know who said it. Jesse saying it must have been my mic. I boomed too hard, but
happens to the best of us. Use Bluetooth.
But the idea that I saw on Twitter that I really liked was Bobby Lashley.
That's an interesting call. I do think like Swerve in Seattle might be the way to go. For that,
very possible, but it just he would.
Targeting.
The only reason I like it is because he would toss Darby around like no other.
For sure. I think that is completely fair. And then on top of that, like, he could ragdoll him, and then you could see Swerve, who is a face, coming out to make the save. That all aligns perfectly fine.
Hold on, time out. I already know where Adam Cole's debuting. I just thought about it. Sorry, I hate to go back, but it literally just clicked in my head.
No, it's okay. Where?
AEW just signed 2 people to a 1-match contract. And these
the
guys,
right?
Yeah, the Costco guys, because they're about the boom. They're going to say something like it's all about the boom. They're going to hear. And then they get attacked because someone's jealous, and then it's all, oh, God damn it. It's so perfect.
That was a weird one to see, but I actually thought about the same thing because their whole thing is the boom stuff. So makes sense. But Joe, did you have any thoughts? I know the chat was saying Nick Wayne versus Darby could be fun. Reed saying Darby versus Marco Stunt, which I think Marco's probably headed for the world title, but your thoughts?
Yeah, I haven't thought about it a lot until Scott George mentioned Nick Wayne, and I think that would make a lot of sense to me, being in Washington, Darby and Nick having such a history. It would just be a lot of fun, and it's not like the match is for anything other than Darby trying to get back on track.
Sure, I don't hate that. I don't hate that at all. And I'll tell you what else I don't hate. Some more news that got broken earlier today. Shelton Benjamin, who we saw tonight, officially signed with AEW on top of the MVP news from last week. We can only assume Bobby Lashley is on the way. And also news that Takeshita is getting a big-time upper card main event push. We saw him get involved in the international title picture earlier today. I will leave the floor open to both of you if you want to jump in on either of that news, and then we will talk about this Warner deal.
Joel?
I like what they're doing with the Hurt Syndicate as far as sprinkling it in. 1 week you had MVP. Now you have Shelton as your was he complaint officer?
Yeah, the chief officer of complaint department or whatever. Yeah.
So then obviously you'll have Bobby coming in eventually here. So I kind of like the slow trickle effect of the very outsiders influence of we're just going to slowly add these people in here and shake shit up. But I just try to think what else. What was the other question? I forgot now. Thinking.
No, it's okay. I've been looping them together. So Takeshita getting a main event push, and obviously what we saw out of him tonight.
Yeah, I think he's ready. I think he's proven that he's a main draw, and the crowd's behind him. They love him, even though he's a heel. He gets that face reaction because he's that good. So yeah, I think it's inevitable that he'll be at the top by, I would imagine, no later than the first quarter of the year.
I would think so too. I really thought, and Ryan, I would love your thoughts on this, that we were headed toward Takeshita C2 run and victory because of all the stare downs we're getting with Okada, but I feel like he can't really go for this international title and not win. They cannot put him near another title picture without giving him the W. And let's not forget, Takeshita was Will Ospreay's first match in AEW. It was an incredible match. He won, but kind of by the skin of his teeth. It was not the most commanding win. And if he still has these issues going on with Ricochet, if they want to continue that rivalry, a triple threat would be a very fun way to go at Wrestle Dream. It feels like a logical conclusion to draw after what we got tonight. But he's so it's ridiculous. He couldn't be more ready. He is hot. Strike while the iron is hot with this guy. Do you want to see him as an international title holder? I feel like that title is far better positioned than the C2 title, the Continental title right now.
Well, I mean, I think it has to be international. I think that's where they're going, clearly, with the story they're telling. But I don't know what they're doing. You kind of stop me there with the C2 because then I have to start developing my head where I think they're going with that, because you have one of the greatest. You have a top 5 wrestler in the world at points number 1, holding the belt, and I don't feel like he wrestles enough. I one day was very bored. I'll let the world in on this. I was one day very bored waiting for something to load on my computer, and I sent Kate a text message on how you book Okada back, and it really is just let him beat everyone clean. Not obviously everyone, but just a ton of people clean. Let him wrestle a lot and let him beat him clean because he's that good. He can still be a heel.
Sure.
He could disrespect everyone. And then the one time he's about to lose, he cheats to get that extra bit of heat because he's been clean until he's not. But the whole point is let Okada wrestle. So I don't know what they're doing there. Bitch. So I don't know what they're doing there. The international is clearly become the title to wrestle. It's kind of what the TNT started out as. I don't even know what they do with the TNT anymore. But it was what it is the wrestler's title. It gets the most matches. It has the most fun. So Takeshita would thrive just by how good he is in the ring. So that's got to be where he goes, in my opinion. I don't know if he's going to take it from Ospreay immediately, but I think that's clearly on down the path. And then for
Shelton.
Shelton. I'm happy Shelton's there. I don't know what they're gonna like. Not say I don't know what they're gonna do with them in a bad way. It's just I don't know. Clearly they're bringing in the Hurt Syndicate as a thing, which, like you said, we don't have Lashley, but I don't think you have MVP Shelton with just they haven't even mentioned like hinted, but still you have that that feeling of like they're missing someone. Clearly it's Lashley. So I think the Hurt Syndicate will thrive in AEW, and part of that will be that Shelton, just go let Shelton wrestle. Another guy, like I just the third guy I'm saying this for, but it's such a clear thing for these guys that if you have guys who can talk, you let them talk more, and if you have guys who can wrestle, you let them wrestle more, and they do really well. And Lashley, you don't want to wrestle a ton. He's the intimidator who you have. Not to say he can't, but he stands back and you build to him. Shelton should be doing all the intermediate wrestling between there to but they might grab him a tag partner. Maybe they make a tag run like they should have done in WWE. Was Ricochet was never part of the Hurt or tempted to be part of the Hurt business. Was he part of a story with them?
He was opposed to them for a short bit of time, I think, on a heel run back when that faction was faced. But I agree with you. That's just a faction of incredible workers, and that's going to be fun as hell. So I am in on that. And speaking of things that are so elevated, this Warner deal, finally, I's dotted, T's crossed, released earlier today. Some conflicting reports on the number of how much this was per deal. It's a private company. We're probably never going to fully know. There were reports that it was $150 million. I'll let you guys know. Sean had reported on Fightful Select that he had heard $170 million and up. I have heard, this is what a well-kept secret this has been, by the way. I heard shit. And I heard shit not through Sean. So that tells you just how tightly lipped people have been about this deal.
I do want to say, just WrestleVotes put out 185 and Sean quote tweeted it and said, this is correct. So.
The 185 number?
Yep.
Well, there you go. I'd been hearing an average of 170 was what I had heard building up over time. But if they ended up closing for 185, God frickin' bless them. That is, I believe, and you can correct me on this if you guys have the details, because I actually didn't read the Select report today. There was a lot that went up there. I believe that is just for Dynamite and Collision. It looks like Rampage is going away, which means there's going to be more money from Fox in all likelihood for whatever Shockwave is.
I think the library's added on that too, right?
Library, and then the simulcasting on Max, which is great. And you're going to have pay-per-views available for a discounted rate deeper into 2025, I believe. I don't think they're going to be discounted up front, but down the line they will be. I'm also told that everything is looking very optimistic with Fox right now. I don't think there's any rush on that. There's some really, really good potential there. I don't think they're in a rush to get anything on the books before 2025. I don't think they're in a rush to get anything on the books before maybe even college football is over if they want to take that slot back over. But everything I've heard has been very optimistic with Fox. It's a win-win. Fox gets to keep wrestling around and pay way less money. AEW gets a huge boost in money, and they're looking at over $200 million probably if that ends up being the case. That doesn't include merch. That doesn't include all the other possible avenues. So lots of money on the way into AEW. This deal alone is really impressive. So good shit there. Ryan, did you have the report up? Looked like you were eyeballing it. Okay.
No, I am. Yeah, I just, for the small details. Rampage obviously looks like it's going away, but the way Sean reported it, if Rampage, until something were to happen, like they sign a Fox deal, and if Rampage goes anywhere else, let me phrase it this way. Rampage will be available on Max, like the library of Rampage will be available on Max. If they were to take the Rampage brand anywhere, then it would leave Max. The library would. My guess is, based on the fact that they have that new name, I forget what it's called.
Shockwave.
Shockwave. My guess is that they don't take Rampage to Fox. They just do Shockwave, and therefore you would keep the Rampage library on Fox. He did point out that part of the reason they're having the pay on there's some debate over the pay on the pay-per-view. Some people aren't happy about it. Some people think that if you go completely free completely through Max, then you would never have the ability. You kind of lose the ability to come back and make money on like
That is
pay-per-views that may sell more. However, some people argue that part of the reason WWE has grown so much is that they have everything right there. It makes it cheap. People will tune into Mania because they don't have to pay that much more. So that's whatever side you fall on. The only interesting thing was, there's many interesting things, but the only thing you didn't mention that I thought was, there's two interesting things here. One, I'll save my favorite to last. First is that True TV and Ring of Honor were never mentioned in the press materials. True TV is changing into something else. It's becoming something.
Jokers channel?
No, it's going to like TNT Sports or something. It's not going to be True TV anymore. So the Practical Joke. That's why I think Practical Jokers are now on TBS.
That would make sense.
Yeah, it's going to be TNT Sports. So
I know what your favorite one is, so we can talk about that too.
Well, yes. But if you're going to become TNT Sports, you're going to need programming, and ROH wouldn't be terrible there.
Sure, and the negotiations for ROH can be a different thing than AEW. Like that can't get done after.
Or, maybe part of the 185 is we reserve the right for an extra hour if we can agree that falls in this deal or something. Like it gives you that. But the thing we really should talk about is that because it looks like they're going to Fox and all that, the exclusivity window is gone, which means there was a show that used to run every week and then it ran twice a week. That was amazing on YouTube. I mean, just hundreds of thousands of views a week, but they had to cut it because Warner said no. There's talks, there's rumors that this may mean Dark returns. I don't know if my heart can handle it.
I mean, you did emotionally grieve and have an entire fucking funeral on this very channel for the demise of that show. I would recommend you go back in our archives if you want to see Ryan's Luke for the funeral that we had. But I can tell you this. Multiple people at AEW have told me Tony Khan himself really likes Dark. Tony Khan is a wrestling nerd. He loves that they were providing a place for wrestlers to go viral and get eyeballs on them and stand out and get signed by AEW and get signed by WWE. And he specifically, the guy that runs the shit, is extremely passionate about that. So if he wants to make something happen, one thing we know about Tony Khan is he usually makes that happen. So I have not heard like how real any of that is, but I have heard from multiple people in AEW that like that guy specifically very, very much wants to bring Dark back. Hello, Marky Mark Kayfabe. Hello, one LT photo. I saw your chat before, by the way. I'm going to see what I can do about getting you unblocked at the Fightful account by accident because Luis meant to pull up your chat but accidentally blocked you instead or whatever happened there. But let me try and figure out what I could do there. But a lot to unpack with this Warner deal. The net of it is they're making a shit ton of money. It sounds like way over double their original deal. Sounds like there's more to come with Fox, which I think that's super, super exciting. I do feel like they have not been great at booking 2 shows. I am concerned about what it looks like when they book 3 shows, but I do think they have time to figure out what that's going to look like, right? And they certainly have a roster that can fill that out. So, Joe, what do you think about the size of the deal? Why were you surprised by what they closed for with this 185 number? And what do you kind of think we're going to see differences of moving forward here? I'm hoping they turn some of that into the marketing budget.
Yeah, I think it's higher than I thought it was going to be. I think a lot of people thought, if they could make 150 million, that'd be a lot. And the fact that they were able to get 185, that's amazing for them from being a 5-year-old company, especially having the kind of impact and disruption they've had in the market in professional wrestling, and to be the number 2 organization in the field. So I think it's great. I want to see, like you said, how they utilize some of that money now, besides buying talent, but putting it more into merchandise and production and just little things like that. I think this is the time when they can really add some more shine to their product.
I agree. I think the support system needs it the most. Everybody is saying that the video game partnership needs to change hands. That was not only like a not great video game, but also the foundation that you have to build for a video game is so expensive that when you look at kind of the loss leaders of what the startup costs essentially were for AEW, that video game department is a big one. There's a guy who is great follow for anything video game related, Mike Straw. Follow Mike Straw Media. Really great dude. All over this kind of stuff. But Ryan, what are your thoughts on this? I like I said, I hear things. I don't put a ton of stock in them, but I'd been hearing around 170 million. I thought that was a fantastic number. If it's closer to 185, that's huge.
So that's just insane amount of money. I'm gonna try to figure out how to get a portion of it. I gotta talk to Tony, see if he can cut us a deal.
Sure.
Clearly we had something to do with it.
Look. If they want us on the AEW YouTube channel instead of our own, it would take a sizable chunk of money, but I think we would negotiate then.
Yeah, I agree. But so Joe kind of said it. You stop, like, obviously you still want to pay your talent, but I don't think that's ever been AEW's problem. I think they are almost sometimes too generous with things. And I don't say I favor the talent in the argument. That isn't my point. I'm just saying it from like a business perspective. But you have to now start spending in those other areas, your marketing, your production, all that. Just because WWE does it doesn't mean it's something you shouldn't do. And especially when it comes to marketing and your toys and your merchandise and all that. Like, AEW's toys are all collectibles. Like, no, make toys that kids can have. Like,
yes.
Go out there, do stuff like that. When you go to an event, don't run out of things. It's okay to have extras. Like, let these things, if you're going to sell out because it's just so much money. Not so much money. So many fans wanted it that literally it just was insane. The video game thing's interesting because the game was fun. It had no depth whatsoever.
That was the number one complaint that I heard was like, you played it for a month and then that was it. Like It was fun for the time that you played it, and then there was nowhere else for it to go. It was just like unsatisfying after the first few weeks of playing it.
And it never was what they promised it to be, which is like, it was supposed to like be a one-time game. Obviously that doesn't exist ever, but like you thought they'd get there are games that have existed for years that continue to put out new stuff. The problem is they just started charging constantly for it. Like their season passes weren't season pass. I don't know if you know what that is in a game, and I'm not being condescending.
I do, but feel free to explain for people that might not.
For those who don't know anything about games, season pass is basically you pay to get all this free new content. So when AEW would release either a new arena or new wrestlers or a new mode, you would have paid already and you get all this stuff instead of trying to pay individually, which most places don't even let you do individually anymore. You have to get the season pass. Season pass should be a year most of the time. And theirs felt like it was every 4 to 6 months. Like,
sure,
every year, every 4 to 6 months, you were paying for a new season pass. And it's like, that's just insane. That's just too much money to be spent on a game that has no depth. So they don't have to completely blow up what they did. They have the base. Just go in and add features that you can either do it to the game you have if you don't want to, or you would sell a new one, but have features that give it a depth. Steal from WWE. And I'm not saying they have a more realistic wrestling simulation style game, which is great.
They're a $5 billion company. They're doing some things right. Yeah.
Yeah. and you can't be their game because their game is. Why would you get it? Because their game is their game. But the create a character, the GM mode, stuff like you can steal that and still be a totally different feeling game, and people would have loved it. It just didn't have the depth. But now that you have the money, maybe you can look back at it again and say, let's not spend all that. But at the end of the day, what I really care about is that I know that the wrestling I enjoy is going to be on TV for a while. And That's all I really want. Like,
That is
people get
the
too involved.
W. That is the W for sure. NXT did close to 900,000 yesterday. Did crack 900,000 for parts of their CW show. WWE signed that $5 billion deal, and now this, which is phenomenal. Like, this is just really good news for the wrestling industry. WrestleNomics dictates that, like, unfortunately, that probably means you're going to start to see maybe some of the smaller ones pack up shop. I don't think New Japan's going anywhere. I think there is a vulnerability around your MLWs, your TNAs, your NWAs, as much as Billy Corgan says is not going anywhere. But I do think there are some vulnerabilities there for sure. But
they're going to have to find their spots. If they want to survive, they're going to have to very much find, are they a TV company? Are they an internet company? Because it feels like for a few of them.
Company? Like, truly. So a lot of movement in the wrestling landscape, but a lot of cash infusion into AEW, and more on the way in all likelihood with the Fox stuff. But we are finally going to get into this episode of Dynamite shortly. But before we do that, a couple of things. There's more of you watching than were at the beginning of the show, so we are going to ask you to leave the old thumbs up on this video. We always appreciate that. And we are going to tell you about our merchandise that you can buy at ProWrestlingTees.com. Head over to the Mark Order store. Pick up one of these 4 beautiful designs. What's that? Those 2 in the middle are exactly the same? Oh, no, my friend. They are not. One is double-sided, one is not. You can check those out. I'm a pocket square gal. That one on the far right is for me. But you can pick any one of these 4 designs. We should probably freshen them up. It's been a minute that we've kind of had these standard designs, but you can grab these. Joe, I believe, has the Accidental Chase t-shirt that we did, which was the first one you see there, but on a gray background because it was an accident. Look at that. First Lieutenant photo saying you can order them in the V-neck too. We appreciate that. Yay, stylistically. The wife got one. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much for that. But there's merch that you can pick up. There's always sales running at Pro Wrestling Tees. So if you're picking up some new AEW merch, if you're picking up some new wrestling merch in general, think of us. Keep us in mind if you would. Beat those shipping charges. Throw a Mark Order shirt on or get one of each. You can wear most of them twice in the same week. Can be really, that's just like a cool person thing to do. But we are going to head to commercial break and tell you all about some of the other shows on the Shining Wizards network here. The Shining Wizards been at it for like a dozen years, so you can check them out on Monday nights. They're the flagship show, but we are a part of a greater Shining Wizards ecosystem here. Plenty of shows, wrestling and non-wrestling related, that you can check out. We're going to take a brief commercial break, and then we are finally going to get into this episode of Dynamite.
Sorry!
We'd like to thank each and every one of you for tuning in every Monday night to listen to The Shining Wizards. If you'd like to continue to support us outside of listening, we've got a few ways for you to do that. If you shop at Amazon, go over to amazon.shiningwizards.com, do your shopping as usual, and when you make your purchase, a little bit of that purchase price will go back to support the show. If you like to wear t-shirts, merch.shiningwizards.com will take you to our Pro Wrestling Tees store, where we've got over a dozen great designs from over 11 years of professional wrestling podcasting. You can become a Patreon supporter at patreon.com/wizardspodcast, where each and every week we call out your name as one of our show producers, and the more you support us, the more things that you're entitled to receive, and believe me, they are fantastic. If you can't support us monetarily, if you don't shop at Amazon, that's absolutely fine. Continue to listen to us wherever you listen to us on the World Wide Web, and make sure you like, rate, review, subscribe, do all that good stuff. Doesn't cost you anything, helps us out, and we can continue to bring you the love fest that is The Shining Wizards.
What's up, folks? It's your boy, the Impact Player, Mr. Philly Ray, inviting all of you to check out the Turnbuckle Throwbacks Wrestling Podcast. Join us as we cover all things current in the world of pro wrestling, as well as paying homage to the old school, the Squared Circle. So listen in and find out why we are the recognized symbol of excellence in sports entertainment broadcasting. Find us on all social media platforms and anywhere you get your podcast from. And as always, We are the proudest members of the Shining Wizards Network and Rant Entertainment Media.
Are you tired of being lied to every day by the mainstream media?
Do you want to know what's really going on in the world?
Do you want to make up your own mind about things and not be told what to think or say?
Then listen to Inconclusive Breakdown, a weekly anti-PC look at the world of entertainment and current events brought to you without censorship or filters.
You can find us everywhere you listen to podcasts, BitChute, and on ShiningWizardsNetwork.com.
And also, we're a proud member of the Shining Wizards Network.
Got 30 minutes to kill?
Come check out 30 Screams or Less, where we review a horror movie in 30 minutes or less. We cover new movies and old ones too.
We'll give our honest thoughts on the movie, good or shit, as well as a rating of each one that we watch.
New episodes weekly, available on the Shining Wizards Network and wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts.
I'm Steve.
And I'm Corey.
Come check us out at 30 Screams or Less.
G'day guys, my name is Thomas, one half of the Broadcast Podcast. With our podcast, we go back and watch wrestling events from WWE, WWF, WCW, ECW, AEW, and many other wrestling promotions. You can check us out on Twitter at The Broadcast, that's TheBrokast, and you can also download all episodes on Apple Podcast, Castbox, Castro, and many other podcast apps.
If you like your music heavy, then check out Radioactive Metal on the Shining Wizards Network. For over 16 years now, Radioactive Metal has been one of the longest running podcasts. Over the years, we've interviewed some legendary metal acts, had some awesome discussions, and cranked a hell of a lot of tunes. So join your cool Uncle Snowy and his co-host Aaron for the audio mosh pit that is Radioactive Metal here on the Shining Wizards Network.
Well, the action is underway.
What's up, everyone? When on the Shining Wizards Network, be sure to check out Wrestling Night in Canada. If we're not recording another kick-ass podcast,
Or playing in punk bands.
Or recording kick-ass heavy metal albums,
then we're sitting back, we're grabbing a couple brews, and going over everything to do in the world of pro wrestling.
Because we're from Winnipeg, you idiots.
The Mark Order Podcast is the only show you need if you're looking for dedicated coverage of everything AEW on the Shining Wizards Network. Join us live on YouTube every Wednesday night at 10:15 p.m. Eastern after Dynamite to chat along with the show. If you can't join us live, listen to us on your favorite podcast platform. Follow us on all social channels at MarkOrderPod and use the hashtag #JoinTheMarkOrder, because if you don't find us,
we will find you.
I'm Kevin Rowe.
I'm Al Day.
And we're a couple of down under pounders that co-host Rogue Day Dots, an action figure collecting podcast where we talk about, well, just about anything that tickles our fancy at any given moment.
We're grumpy old men, and sometimes people get on our nerves. And when you get on our nerves, guess what? You get off the lawn.
Get off my lawn, asshole! We also go on a little bit of a mission. We go back and we're grading every wrestling figure line that's out there. I'm talking LJNs. I'm talking Jacks. I'm talking Hasbros. Who doesn't like a little Hulkaplex? It's a Gorilla Brain Wrestling podcast production found on the Shining Wizards Network.
I'm Duke Bags.
Kevin Rowe.
And together we are the co-hosts of Your Duke and Road. If you want to hear about some terrible wrestling shows, we got you covered.
Well, we talk about good ones, too.
We're currently talking about the death of WCW.
I know what we're fucking talking about. Sometimes we get guest spots, like from the Taskmaster. I like to listen to the Your Duke and Rope podcast. They're funny guys. I like when they talk about the Nards plows. I like Nards plows. That's a good move. and I like the Dungeon of Doom. You know, sometimes I call my butt the Dungeon of Doom. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, Oklahoma.
Let me tell you a little bit about my favorite wrestling podcast. All right? It's a podcast with two men, Duke Banks, Kevin Rhodes. They talk about professional wrestling. It's a man's sport. All right? And who better to talk about a man's sport than Duke? Oklahoma.
And once in a while, Vince Russo stops by.
Oh, you piece of shit! If you're not listening to the Your Duke and Road podcast in the back with the boys, you piece of shit, I don't know what you're doing. It's, you gotta slide one in there. If you're a man, you're talking about something only a man can do. You're talking about sliding one in there. Bro, take the time to slide one in there. All right, bro, you piece of shit. Slide one in there. A Gorilla Brain Wrestling podcast production that you can find on the Shining Wizards Network.
Well, wait, Kate, while you get yourself together, I want to try this sound. I don't know what it is, and people can hear it. That's not feeding the ducks. There's like pre-built music, and it's called Feeding the Ducks, but that wasn't feeding ducks. That's very disappointing.
It's not the sound of feeding the ducks. It's what you listen to while you're feeding ducks.
I don't like that.
I have to do this because I have pretzels stuck in my teeth, and it's so gross.
Okay, that's fine. We'll rock.
That is better than anything Def Rebel has put out for WWE, and like.
Well, it doesn't have that yell at the beginning.
I'm trying to think of who that would be. Like, Dragunov. And then he comes out to that because it makes no sense for his character. Ilya Dragunov. That's their entire fucking playbook.
I just realized what you were doing. You're just saying the name.
That's it. That's their whole fucking thing. Thank God for Mikey Ruckus. That's all I can say. Because
seriously.
He's creating masterpieces with Claudio and stuff. Like, come on. But we are going to get into this episode of AEW Dynamite. This was a weird one.
Joe will be back, hopefully, people. Just want to establish that. Probably should acknowledge that there is no Joe.
Look. Sometimes you just can't fucking hang, okay? And Joe got eliminated from this episode of the Mark.
He was the weakest link. Goodbye. Yeah, that's right. A 20-year-old reference.
He uncharacteristically has worse internet than I do today, so he is working on some of that. But we're gonna get into this episode of Dynamite. We can catch him up when he comes back, but we get this opening promo, and man, I've loved everything they've done since turning the Blackpool Combat Club heel, and this weird gray area with Yuta I think is so fun. We do have a lot of heel factions, so I am excited that Undisputed Kingdom might be coming back face, but this opening promo is fantastic. They're all kind of talking about Wheeler Yuta's decision that he has to make here. We decided that Joe is allowed back in with our trios titles that we have. He's our Wheeler Yuta of the group. Your timing is impeccable, Joe, but Pac says that Wheeler is a lion, not a fluffy, cute little animal. And Claudio said, referred to their history together, saying that he and Mox are the same guys that they've always been, which I really, really liked. And then Marita just says something in Russian, which is fantastic. She has been such a fun part of this act. I really, really like what she brings to the table with this. But Mox says that he prayed that Danielson would never win the AEW World title, but since he has, he knows what he has to do, and he'll do whatever it takes to send Mox out on his, or Mox will do whatever it takes to send Danielson out on his shield and be buried in his backyard, of course, referring to Wrestle Dream being in Seattle, Washington. So a strong opener. I've really liked everything that they've done with them since this heel turn. Holding the trios titles while you have these shades of gray with Wheeler, I think is awesome. This is probably the brightest Wheeler Yuta has shined in his career. He's been incredible match-wise, I think, but he's kind of been the whipping boy a little bit of this faction and kind of the little brother of it all. So getting to see some focus on him, I think, has been a really beautiful thing. Feels for sure like Mox is winning. This feels like the perfect way to send Danielson out of full-time era. But Joe, let's start with you. What did you think of our opener here? And I'm so sorry I'm so hungry, but I'm going to eat more pretzels while you talk.
No, I like the opener. I thought it set a good tone for the night, especially what we saw at the end of the show. I always kind of like when we have that wraparound bookend, how we start, how we finish. And I think this does do a lot for Wheeler. I think he'll probably be the beneficiary of all this. If he can really grow into a more dominant character. Like I said, like he's won ROH gold, he's won trios gold, tag gold, but like he needs to be I think taken more seriously as a individual star, and hopefully he'll go down that path and not stay heel and stick with the BCC.
I think there's a really fun thing you could do. Speaking of the ROH gold, I had this idea. I assumed Takeshita was winning the C2 because we got so much work done with him and Okada, right? But if Daniel Garcia resigns, the idea that his last trajectory was, I almost lose out, but I'm transforming in the process, to him winning and him and Wheeler facing each other at some point in that C2 could be really fun as Wheeler is trying to discover himself and what it looks like to be without all of the pieces that he's been so comfortable with. So I think there's a lot of fun to be had there. Ryan, what did you think of this opening segment while I go back to snacking on pretzels?
I don't know. Can you say something to me?
Yes.
Yeah. Mox is very good at these menacing speeches. He always has been. He's very, very good at it. Marina just speaking in Russian is hilarious. Yuta is our baby lion. He just wants to roar. This is maybe helps Yuta. Yuta seemed to be struggling for a while. He had all that heat when he had all the momentum when he got into the BCC, but since then it's like just kind of stalled out. This could be, if they play this right, this could be the thing that puts him back onto a path of redemption, as kind of shown by the end of the episode tonight, the way people handled it. So
I agree, and I feel like that's just kind of from the real life perspective, a beautiful love story for Danielson to go out on, right? Like they end up making Wheeler Yuta, who is clearly influenced by Danielson's in-ring style and career in this whole process. Like that's a beautiful way to make things happen for sure. I always hear Wheeler Yuta's name in William Regal cadence, the Wheeler Yuta. I always hear this. Hey, this was weird, but great. But what? We move on to our International Championship match. We are going to go a little bit quicker than usual, guys, because we got started so late from that overrun. But this ends in a no contest 2 times, which I hate. But a lot of what we got in the match I thought was really, 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 really excellent. I feel like the story of Ospreay and Ricochet being 2 of the most athletic freaks in the world came across here, but it feels like they also evolved into athletic freaks who also have a ton of strength considering their sizes, and they're a little bit smarter. Like the way that they use their acrobatic ability feels like it's less superfluous and more geared toward winning a match. They had some show-off spots, especially early in this. They did the thing that they did in the first match where they landed the same move facing each other that everybody loves. So it was cool to see that, but I feel like it was cool that we got this evolution. It ends in a double pin, which makes no sense because then it also ends in Takeshita coming in to cause interference after they restart the match from the double pin. So we get the satisfying moment of they're going to restart it. We're going to get a definitive ending, all to be ruined by Takeshita. I don't like schmaz endings. I don't like 2 on the same match. That feels fucking stupid. I don't understand why you didn't just have Takeshita come in and ruin it. But the match itself, what a showcase from these 2. I had heard a concern that maybe Ricochet wouldn't stand out as much because people in AEW can match his skill set so much more than a lot of the WWE style. But for me, Joe, like I feel like he is still standing out doing some really cool shit so far.
Yeah, I don't see how he can't stand out. I mean, sure, there are guys who are similar in what they can do acrobatically and some of the moves they do, but you can still stand out. I mean, there's a lot of artists who do similar things, but they all have one or two things that really make them break out. I loved how the match was, an update to their history. I liked how commentary really built upon telling us how it's their 10th matchup and how they first met back at Rev Pro. Kind of building that history for people who might not know their history. Otherwise, I thought the match was a heck of a sprint between the two of them, and I couldn't agree more with you at the end about how I felt like it was really overbooked with the draw and then the disqualification or no contest. I get why you don't want Ricochet to take a loss maybe this early, and you probably save a definitive match between the two later on. But yeah, just give me if you're gonna do the run-in finish, just do that.
I don't know if that was supposed to throw us off the scent or whatever, but not great. Not great. Will Ospreay also the victim of some really nasty Hurricane Ranas between the pack one that he took on the entrance ramp and some of the stuff we got in this match. Oh boy, but regrettably, I actually remembered to throw it to Ryan here. I'm notorious for only throwing it to one of you, but I did sadly remember to get Ryan's take on this. Did you like the endings of this, or did it cloud the match for you? And what did you think of what we got overall?
It didn't cloud the match for me. I don't love the endings, but it didn't cloud it. You kind of said what I was going to say, which is I think the draw was to hide that they were going to have Takeshita interfere. I think people probably thought for most of this match that Takeshita was going to interfere, or someone was going to. Maybe not necessarily Takeshita, but someone was going. So by doing draw, I think they thought for a couple seconds, we'll confuse you. I don't love it, but I at least appreciate the attempt. I would advise them not to do it again, but you live, you learn. They're getting away with it because the match was so incredible. If it was a bad match followed by that, I think I'd be feeling probably very different. I do like that. I know I wasn't watching wrestling really. Maybe a little. Maybe I was. I don't know my timeline anymore. When Ricochet and Ospreay had their first match that made Vader mad and all that. I do like, though, that I've seen enough clips that I realized that they were doing callbacks to it. And it's very much anything you can do, I can do match. And that's a fun story to tell, which is like, and part of it for all the people who get annoyed at they're just flippy dippy gymnastics. It's like, yes, but that's part of the point. And in a wrestling context, they're showing off. Like a bit of this match is I'm showing off to show that I can do things you can't do. And then, of course, the other guy goes and does it. So I like Joe's point of people thought Ricochet, would he blend in? And it's very clear he's got a skill set that stands out even among these amazing wrestlers. I'm glad that this is going to sound weird because I don't love the ending. I'm glad they got the match out of the way. For a match I loved, it's not a criticism of the match, but I don't think they were ready to have a true Ricochet Ospreay story yet, but you had people demanding the match. So if you didn't have a story ready for the two of them, get the match out of the way to get that demand out of the way, people will want it again, but you can now come back around to it later with an actual story. So I appreciated that.
I agree, and this could be a really fun part of a series of matches between these two. They obviously wanted to work together. Ospreay was talking about it at media conferences and media scrums before he was even available. So he summoned him to this point. Agree with you there. I feel like the showing offness is perfectly fine when it doesn't take away from... There's a gnat in my room. It doesn't take away from the fact that you're trying to win a match. And I think that's where this one succeeded over maybe the first one. And that's literally just, I think, wisdom of being a wrestler, to be honest. So good stuff in our opener, followed by the dumbest shit fucking ever. Oh, Joe, yes.
I have a question. Ryan, you didn't share your level of fun like you promised.
My God.
Oh, you're You know what? Good call. See, this is a tough one. So now we get into the toughness here. The match itself was, oh my God, I may have just peed a little fun. I am willing to accept that the ending was a level 2. It wasn't quite a level 1 because a level 1 would have just been a really disastrous ending. This is like, the ending. So I guess we level out at level 3. A lot of fun. Match being 4, ending being 2. Kate, by the way, we have another overlay. If I ever have to show it, just so you see it, it's RGW, Ryan Guesses Wrestling. I missed one of the Dynamites, so I tried to predict exactly what was going to happen.
I'm very excited about this graphic. It's beautiful. And I actually agree with your fun scale assessment because if it weren't Takeshita and it were a different talent, I think you're at risk of a level 1 fun. But, like, everybody wants this for Takeshita. He's believable in this scenario. There's a relationship with him and Ospreay already, right? So they faced each other in Ospreay's first match in the company, etc. So I'm actually with you on that. A rare moment of agreement. Of I'm at a level 3 fun as well. And just, like, on principle, I don't generally pee myself a little. So,
yeah, you lie.
No, I got my bladder sitch pretty well under control.
Yeah, you're a liar. It's okay. I understand.
Look, I have had to train to hold my pee ever since the first Grand Slam that I went to the bathroom at an inopportune time. I can hold it for hours now because I have learned that you're not allowed to go to the bathroom at a wrestling show really ever. So, Joe, what level of fun for you?
I'm good with a 3.
Okay.
Overall, like for the whole segment.
Okay. I'm in on that. It's such a good face. It really is. Hey, this shit sucked. You can put up the trash fire one. We got Chris Jericho coming out, talking about how he never would have gotten to this point without Chris Jericho. And oh my God, Chris Jericho. And it's his 34th year in wrestling. Take a hint and fucking retire then, Chris, because this run has been horrible. But Jericho Nueve coming after Mark Briscoe for that ROH title. Has to mention his dead brother to get under Mark's skin. So we're getting that bullshit at Wrestle Dream. My kingdom for them building a contender on ROH for a champion that is on ROH while you're carrying around the ROH fucking title. Enough! They have had Lee Johnson once, I think. What the fuck are they doing with Shane Taylor? He challenged for this title back in fucking August. This is ridiculous. Figure out what the fuck you're doing with ROH. The amount of times that they have just hot-shotted an AEW talent before a pay-per-view is ridiculous. Like, it is such a load of garbage. The title's never around. There's too many titles on AEW. Basic fucking math could lead you to the logical conclusion. This is awful. This is awful. And Nueve Jericho, if he wins, oh my God. Why? Fucking why? So we can have this paraded around not on the promotion that it belongs to some more? This is horseshit.
Man, Kate is throwing some shade.
Joe, what do you think?
That was my biggest issue with this segment was all this AEW TV time to focus on the ROH World title. I don't get it. It's just a weird thing for Jericho to go into. I don't want him to suck up ROH into his vortex. We've seen enough damage it does, and ROH is half the time circling the drain sometimes as far as
there's no male singles contenders. There's none. They've done no work.
Otherwise, yeah, like you said, the mentioning of Jay, it's a lot of low-hanging fruit stuff. And it's not really that intriguing or exciting for a viewer like myself.
It feels
I can't believe low-hanging fruit is coming from the learning tree.
If the Jay thing felt so unearned. Like, Mark Briscoe and Jericho do not have the history for them to bring up Jay. If it was Roddy Strong like someone who faced Jay a bunch and stuff. I don't really love that anyway, but I get the purpose of it. With Jericho, that is the most unearned bullshit. Like, it should be somebody with ROH history. It should be somebody with Mark Briscoe and Jay Briscoe history. You want fucking Dax to say it? Fine. That was ridiculous. This whole segment was dog shit. Like, this was so bad. And then on top, like, it almost just feels like nobody backstage wants to tell Jericho this sucks. Like, that's what it genuinely feels like. How is this going on this long? How did this start ironically as a thing, and now it is completely actualized itself? It feels like they're funneling him to ROH because nobody wants to see him on AEW anymore. And this is, by the way, what you have for fucking Orange Cassidy. This is what the conglomeration's been involved in, the super over babyface squad. Orange Cassidy versus Zack Sabre Jr. at Forbidden Door. And they're like, you know what the next long-term program for that guy's gonna be? Fucking trying to make Jericho, who can't jump for a fucking suplex anymore, look good. Awful. Fucking awful. Brian, give your opinion and tell us how many funds it is, because this...
I just can't believe you're just looking to cut down some of the Learning Tree segments.
I have to remember to get logged into our instance of StreamYard so I can mute you when you say things like that.
No. I mean, listen, I tweeted that Jericho needs to be in a lumberjack match, and no one seemed to want to respond to that.
Nobody wants to respond to anything Jericho's doing.
So there's two different arguments going on here. One is what's going on with ROH, which is a whole... I'm not going to spend time on that tonight because this is a later one, but clearly they need to figure that out with the Warner deal settled. If ROH is part of it, something with True TV, great. If not, figure it out, because you now have enough money that you can operate ROH as its own entity that loses a little bit of money, but gives you places to put wrestlers and build up stories and stuff. So you have that road to go down on. That's one argument, is what they're doing with ROH. The second is the Jericho stuff. The J line didn't hit. I get why they did it. They're trying to actually make this seem personal. It's not going to work. You just can't do it with Jericho right now, at least not in this storyline. I got nothing. Here's my problem. I actually buy into the Learning Tree. I do. I laugh at their segments, but they're doing with Briscoe what they've done. Hold on, I gotta pause because someone just appropriately delivered, and I gotta give credit where credit's due. Jesse Osak, Ryan Jokes are a real logjam for this show. Well played. Also, hello, Meat Normus.
Meat, what up?
This Meat is actually giving the idea that I have, which is you just put ROH on YouTube like they did with the Dark Elevator, and keep the pay-per-views on Honor Club. You could even just do the pay-per-views on YouTube. You can pay to have things on YouTube, or Fight, or wherever you want to do it. But at this point, you'd probably have better luck. But you can afford it to be a loss now that you're making close to $200 million. Either way, that's not the Jericho problem. The Jericho problem is his feuds drag on too long. This Briscoe is an extension of a feud he's been having with this group for months already. He needs quick one-offs because they just drag. So, I'm with you guys. I'm out on this.
I'm eating these pretzels because I'm feeling salty. That's what's up.
At least you're not sad. You'd be feeling sappy talking about a tree.
Yeah, that reminds me of my boss. Sap. Enough of that.
Out here barking about Select.
Can we move on now?
Barking up the wrong tree. Get it?
No, I got it. Are we ready to move on though?
Yeah, let's move on.
Did you give that 0 funds?
I don't think you've ever given anything 0 funds.
I know. That's why I'm like, this could be making history if you are giving it the trash can.
It was the 5-year anniversary. Oh, boo. Coward.
I need you to justify your answer. Describe to me what was the healthy dose of fun about any of that bullshit.
Mark Briscoe. I find him
wasn't even
enjoyable.
fun though.
But I find him enjoyable.
But he was sad.
Yeah, but I find him enjoyable.
It's not an enjoyable scale, it's a fun scale.
For me, it's the same thing. If I enjoy it, I have fun with it.
If you ever bust out a 0, and it does involve Chris Jericho winning a championship, I'm bookmarking this. Well, after that dog shit, we get Adam Page attacking Austin Gunn and Colton Gunn backstage while Renee is interviewing them. All pretty standard stuff, but I gotta say, Renee's like, and I'm out. Cadence is unbelievable. Like, she has been around enough to know I gotta get the fuck out of here when shit's going down. She knows exactly to, like, did my job? Peace. My job is not getting my ass kicked or witnessing any of the shit. God bless her. I'll leave the floor open to both of you if either of you want to chime in on this. This was...
I got nothing on this, but I do want to point out Meet Norma's called the learning tree 2 packs of ass, and I think that is the funniest insult I've heard in a long time.
I mean, one's not enough.
No, it's 2 packs of ass.
It's 2 packs of ass.
But that's all I gotta say.
Joe, anything on that?
Not on this part.
Okay, good deal. We'll move along then to this Darby Allin vignette. Man, I like him so much more doing this than Body Bag Vignette guy. He has sounded so comfortable and so sincere and so good on the mic. Like, he's not always for being ring-wise. Sometimes he is. But, like, this is such a better version of him. And really in this, he's just issuing the open challenge for Wrestle Dream. But, like, hearing him sound just like an authentic person is refreshing, because the vignette stuff was cool, the Sting relationship was cool, but like Darby just getting to stand on his own, I kind of dig it. I'll leave the floor open for you guys, because that one was a short one too.
Yeah, I liked it. I thought it really turned up his persona, and like you said, the authenticity of it. I think it just dialed it up to another level from what we were getting from him, because I thought a lot of the other stuff rings a little tiring after a while. You feel like you hear it over and over again. And then I like the fact that he's a little bit hungry and desperate and kind of questioning himself again. And I also wonder how often that coat gets washed, because that thing looks beat.
I always think about, I'm like, did he borrow it from Stokely Hathaway when Stokely Hathaway was Malcolm Bivens? Because Malcolm Bivens at Stand and Deliver, shortly before he was released from NXT, had a very, very similar coat. And I'm like, Stokely's shorter, but Darby is skinny as fuck. I'm like, did he? Did he? But we'll move on to something that I actually thought was very fun on the show. Hangman defeating Juice Robinson. I thought Juice looked really good. We haven't gotten to see him wrestle proper singles in a while. Coming off of that lumberjack match outfit. Whew. Oh, my God. The Tommy Pickles diaper that said Juice on the back with the flannel and the suspenders and the brawny paper towel man from the top up. Loved that for us. But it was very nice to see him just get to wrestle a singles match. He's really good, and he's so silly. Sometimes we can forget about that when we don't see him in singles action for a while. But this sets up a big return from Jay White, which is fantastic news. A Jay White Hangman Page program, please set me up for that. I am looking forward to what I'm hoping is like a multi-match feud. I feel like that is a good top guys, title adjacent, establishing feud for Jay White to walk back into. I think it's great. Ryan, who had the audacity to give the last bullshit we saw a healthy dose of fun. This ought to be a 3 or above, I gotta say. Oh, might have been a little level 4.
There was not a part of this I didn't enjoy. The match was awesome. Juice is very talented. I don't think people appreciate sometimes just how good he is in the ring. And his facial expressions are just absolutely hilarious. I think 3 different pictures that could be used as a meme came out of this match.
Always.
But at the same point, it doesn't feel silly. You're laughing, but the match doesn't feel silly. I don't know how he blends it, but he does.
That's something when the elite are at their best are very good at. Like
Yes.
all of those dynamics of being very silly but not laughing at the match is a big thing. But
The real kicker here, though, is Switchblade coming back healthy and going right into a feud with Hangman, because one of the biggest misses so far in AEW's free agent signings has been Switchblade. Like he's had trios, and he's not been a total waste, but it felt like this guy's main event. He's main event caliber. Why Hangman's immediately at that level? So let him come back. Let him hang in this feud. Even if he doesn't win in the end, if he can take one or two from him, you have 3 best of 3 and let him win one. But immediately puts him at that level and shows that they want him to be there, and which means coming from this, he can stay that high. So I am pumped. So this was all gravy for me.
Ryan, dare I say, let him cook. Let him cook. We just want him to cook. We want him to cook with his switchbladey sharp little self. I'm looking forward to...
He can chop it up, slice it, and then cook it.
It also, to your point, feels like almost an acknowledgement of, we fucked up with this guy. We're going to put him with the hottest heel that we have in all of wrestling right now. I think that's a very fair argument to say that Adam Page is like the hottest heel in professional wrestling. So walk right back into this, I think, is a really healthy call. Joe, what did you think of the match and the return of our Switchblade, Jay White?
I think the match might have been my favorite of the night, and that's with Okada and Danielson on it, because I liked how the match started, or before the match even started. I liked all the outside shenanigans. I thought it really played up to both, Heyman's current character of kind of, going berserk, and Juice's, wild card kamikaze style that he sometimes has. So I thought all the shenanigans on the outside really added to the match itself. And then once you got into the match, like Ryan said, I'm more a fan of Juice's mannerisms, his talking shit to as he's hitting Heyman. It's just fun and something different. And I'm curious, like, how we got to this point where we built this huge match off of Juice being a lumberjack and Heyman's match, but to see how it paid off with Switchblade coming back and how Switchblade was taken out by Heyman, it just really sewed all the pieces together, which was really nice.
Well, as the great Cresta says, if you shenan once, you can shenan again. So, some good stuff there. I don't fault this for being your match of the night. I did love that main event, but this was like match of the night almost in a different way of like what it set up, letting Drew show out in a way that we haven't seen before. Hangman just continuing to be one of, if not the most complete and in-depth best characters in all of wrestling right now. Love that. Love that. So some good stuff there. Moving on to something that's losing a little steam on me, to be honest. We get Renee Paquette, who's back with the Scapegoat bus, and Jack Perry exits, and he's immediately met by Shibata, who plays a message on his phone, challenging for that TNT title match at Wrestle Dream. Jack Perry says he thinks about it, he steps away, and then he jumps back in and beats the hell out of Shibata and accepts his challenge. I just want someone that feels like they have a shot in hell challenging for a title, especially this title. Like, I love Shibata. He's the wrestler for the reason. You know what I mean? Like, he's really, really, really great. There's not a single ounce of me that has any sort of believability that he's going to win this. Ryan, we'll start with you. I'm kind of losing steam on Jack Perry. I don't hate it. There's nothing I dislike about it. I just feel like they're leaving money on the table in a sense by doing stuff like this and the Suzuki Open Challenge thing.
Yeah, it's not a thing that Perry's doing anything wrong. It's the way they're delivering this stuff. One, I do hope Samoa Joe returns and steals the bus to fit in with his Twisted Metal character. I just think that whole thing would work really well. But it's like if if Shibata had come a different way, it wasn't an open challenge or it was some other way, and he had been building up and they'd given him, or like he had said, I'm going to go for the TNT, and then he had to beat 3 guys to get there and stuff like that. Not Perry's 3 guys, just in general, to be ranked, no ranking, but to qualify for it, you'd be like, well, maybe he has a chance. They're building the story up for Shibata. And then you could believe that he would take it. But these one-offs, you have no belief. They're like, and it's doing Perry no favors because he, like, don't get me wrong, I loved I'll think about it, and then he goes and attacks him, goes, all right, I accept. It's like, okay, that actually was pretty good and made me laugh a little. But like you said, no one doubts who's winning this. Give me a babyface who builds up to fight Perry and loses, but like has weeks-long story that they are going to take down Jack Perry. Like, let us buy in, and then have them lose. Because then Jack Perry gets like, and the babyface is fine because they can have another redemption arc, but that gives Perry the build up.
I'm with you on that, Joe. Your thoughts on this segment, which I did like the way it was executed, but the match that got made here. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm with you guys. I feel like this is Jack Perry and like almost like a holding pattern of they're just biding their time until they introduce his next feud. So they're just doing these random one-offs. I'm a little worried about Shibata's phone. I hope they had a case on it because, I mean, if that breaks, what's he gonna do? How's he gonna speak?
He can't communicate without it.
But and going forward, as we were talking about maybe possibilities of people who could, challenge Perry or build up a feud. I wouldn't mind eventually seeing a, like we talked about Adam Cole, like an Undisputed Kingdom versus the Elite type of thing.
I would love that. I think that could be really fun. It does still seem like we need a payoff from whatever like control Moxley is talking about, but I'm intrigued to see where things go, and I agree with you. Like a proper face stable versus the Elite would do wonders for everyone, I think. But we are moving along, guys. Keep chatting along with us. We appreciate you in the chat. If you could leave a thumbs up on this video, very, very helpful for us. Helps people discover our little podcast that could over here. We appreciate it. And additionally, if you could leave a 5-star review, we don't want any 4-star or lower bullshit, okay? This is the Tokyo Dome of podcasts. If you could leave that on reviews of where you listen to audio platforms, it would really go a long way. And helping us out, letting people get their eyes on us and keep us in their feeds as we continue along here. We did get notice here that Tony Khan did make it official that we have a triple threat between Takeshita and Will Ospreay and Ricochet at Wrestle Dream. That's going to be an interesting one to watch. I can't imagine the result is Takeshita loses clean. So how they either have Ospreay retain or how they flip it over to either one of them will be interesting. So Wrestle Dream kind of feeling thrown together. Kind of feels like how All Out has felt in past years a little bit, but some good matches being lined up for sure. I will say I am very much into the idea of the in-ring styles of Shibata versus Jack Perry. I think it's going to pull some good stuff out of him. We get a Bryan Danielson promo where he's basically like, fuck Jon Moxley, and I'm going to fuck up Okada. Good stuff. Just straight up the middle. Danielson saying, fuck Jon Moxley, I'm going to beat Okada up. And then we get Britt Baker in a match with Serena Deeb. I thought this match was much better than her one against Mercedes. Serena Deeb, an excellent dance partner here. But Deeb attacks the knee of Britt Baker after this match, and Queen Aminata comes down to make the save here. So interesting developments with Aminata and Deeb continuing to be on opposite sides of the coin from each other. Joe, we'll throw it over to you about this Danielson promo that was kind of straightforward, but this action in the women's wrestling picture as well. What do you think?
Danielson promo was fine by me. I think, like I mentioned earlier, I liked how they kind of paced this whole episode around Danielson and the BCC from start to his promo to the end. So I like that continuity. And the Britt and Serena match, the DMD versus the PhD, right? The first thing I noticed was how much better this match felt and looked from just a casual viewer type of perspective of just watching on TV. It felt like it was really smooth. They worked together really well. They had a lot of fun, submission transitions. So yeah, I thought it was a solid match for being in the usual death slot of Dynamite.
Yeah, I thought this was good. I thought Britt looked just much more comfortable. I don't know if it's because she was in Britsburg or Serena Deeb just worked with her so well, but something clicked here that was not in that Mercedes match. That it still wasn't the greatest match. There are stronger workers in the division for sure, but definitely a step in the right direction, and it's going to be a challenge for Britt. I feel like she was probably a top 7 worker and a top 3 talker when she was injured, and now I feel like she's a top 15 worker maybe, and like a top 10 promo. Like there's been a lot of heat that has come in since. So across AEW and ROH, there's a much different looking scene that she's gonna have to reestablish herself in. But Brian, what did you think of the Danielson promo and of our ladies match for the evening?
I mean, the Danielson promo was what it was. Nothing real special from. I mean, it's not a bad promo. Just I don't think we heard a lot of new things there.
Fuck Jon Moxley.
No, yeah, essentially that. The match was very good. For no builds, no, and I'm fine with no build, no stories. I guess more just confused because I don't know what's going on with Britt. You have Amanada and Deeb having their storyline, which I actually do really like. That's a lot of fun. But overall, it's just kind of, it was a good match. I don't want to trash it. Actually, it was hold on. I'll say it was a 3. It was a lot of fun.
Okay.
But I think it just missed the whatever, and I think it all comes down to I just don't know what Britt is right now.
Yeah, and there was, zero story going into this, right? The story was Britt is from Pittsburgh. Happy anniversary. She's a day oneer, right? So it almost feels like the post-match with Serena and Amanada was where the juice is. So what is Britt Baker up to is a very, very fair question. But we move along here. We get Hook giving an update on his dad. Taz was attacked in the parking lot earlier, and he says, if you start shit, don't start shit you can't finish, which I thought was nice. We get a quick Christian Cage promo as well on the video wall, and he promises to be a champion soon, and we'll have everyone hook, line and sinker. So 2 quick ones there. Ryan, we'll start with you. What did you think of those? Any thoughts?
I'm sorry, I'm stuck on the pun. It was well done.
Hook.
It was very well done, and I just it was a good one. Mariah Mays was. I mean, they're fine. I mean, I'm not. Yeah.
Well, I talked about Hook and Christian. We didn't get to.
Yeah, sorry, I'm skipping in my head because I got you really fucked me up with the pun because I had one set up and you killed it. Christian didn't say really much, so okay. And Hooks is a story which I'm very intrigued by, which is who attacked Taz. Why did they attack Taz? How dare they be those devils? I come with my own puns. And I did see some people online being like, was it Hook himself? So I think that'd be a terrible story, but I'm very curious. I like seeing Hook get emotional. It doesn't seem like something he pulls off a ton, so that was nice. And Christian just said, I love the promo was funny, but he didn't say anything.
I kind of want it to be a Joe heel turn. Joe turns on Hook for retiring the title. Could be a fun way to go. Joe, what do you think of these?
The promo by Hook was fine. I could have done without the hook line and sinker line of it though, because I felt like that kind of made it a little bit cheesy of what he was trying to do. And I don't know why Taz, he's a savvy veteran. Why is he walking around in a wrestling parking lot knowing that shenanigans, as we talked about earlier, can happen at any time? Like, why aren't you rolling with protection? And
I mean, he had a whole team at one point. You would think he could have somebody walking in with him. I fear for Jim Ross if Taz is getting taken out. I mean, my God. But
by God.
My God. We do move along to that Mariah May backstage that Ryan was alluding to earlier. She's with Renee Paquette as well, the remarkable Renee Paquette. And Mariah May says that Willow is falling upward and receives championship chances despite losing repeatedly. And Willow steps in front of her and they get physical. I actually think of Holly and Michael on The Office doing "Let's get ethical." We're going to go counterclockwise this time. We're going to start with Joe on this. Thought of this ladies' feud. I think Mariah May versus Willow will rule.
Yeah, I think it'll be, I mean, between how both of them like to strike, I think it's going to be great. And I'm curious what they do with, the feud's not going to be one that lasts a long time, but I feel like we're still just kind of waiting to get to Tony and Mina and that stuff back around to that. But in the meantime, this is going to be fun to watch.
I agree. Stylistically, I think that's going to be so fun. Like you said, not only with the striking, but like Willow having the size advantage, but Mariah May beating the fuck out of each other is going to be really fun. I am intrigued to see what happens with Mina because she has a very like specific spot in the overarching story with this. I don't know if you guys saw Toni Storm's vignettes or not even backstages, just press conference spots from her work in Stardom, but she doesn't even know the name Mariah. She's never heard it before. She's so funny continuing this all over there. But Ryan, what do you think of this Mariah May backstage with Renee?
So part of the reason I lost track a second ago was because I was focused on getting the point that is this the first time we've ever heard Willow curse? Because I'm pretty sure she said bitch, and I was stunned.
I think she swore once at Chris, but
okay.
She does not say bitch with the consistency of an Okada, for example.
No, so that was kind of shocked me, but overall, I mean, I kind of like this. I think Mariah May raised good points that are logical of being like, you've lost a bunch and yet here you are. And then I think Willow's standing and be like, I'm coming for you. Like I like both. Both were a lot of fun. And Jesus, I really do just say that. But both were a good time and I'm excited for this matchup. Willow's probably the best, most pure woman's babyface in wrestling. So I love that. Also, did you see, we'll see it after Toni Storm has promo for CMLL now, where she says she said she's going to Mexico only because she needs money. She had a book deal, but that fell through, and she has to make a delivery to Acapulco. So it's a whole thing. Of course
she does. That's such a cool way for her to disappear from AEW as a character, but still be around in a sense. Like,
yeah,
good for her for continuing to work because she's been at it really consistently for a long time. Like she could take a longer break than she's taken and be very justified in doing so. So some good shit there. We got Private Party defeating the Iron Savages pretty quickly here. Private Party also quickly challenged Matthew and Nicholas to a tag team match. And the Bucks appear right away. They tease accepting the challenge, but then they cut themselves off and say it would be a waste of time in Pittsburgh. Boo, boo. And Jack Perry comes out to attack Private Party. Shibata making the save and Christopher Daniels making a match between all six of them on Rampage this Friday. The highlight of this that everyone seems to be talking about is the Jacksons, Matthew and Nicholas, talking about how they work a limited number of dates. Okay, which I thought was so much fun. Ryan, we'll start with you on this one. I would like Private Party to, like, they just squashed them 3 times in a row, but it feels like they want us to feel like they're important. I would really like for them to win out of this, to be honest. I don't think the Bucks need these titles anymore. I think Private Party would benefit greatly. They've earned it, and I think this tag team division desperately needs some more life. Also, I like this from the Jacksons because I also work a limited number of dates. That's why I was out for the entire past month. So I'm just trying to keep the contracted dates working for us through the end of the year here. Ryan, what did you think?
So I hate that they had to do it to the Iron Savages. I love the Iron Savages, but I also understand you have to do it to a team that people know. To have them go out and win so quickly is now their attempt to be like, this is a different Private Party than even a couple weeks ago. Something has changed. Something has clicked. They are different. You're right that the champs come out and being like, hey, we have a limited number of dates. People have been begging for them to say that, to be like, we don't wrestle because we don't want to. And then Shibata coming out for the save and leading into what I'm assuming they beat them in the triple so that then they get their shot at the titles. I'm all for that. I love every part. I'm with you. Private Party should win. It would breathe fresh life into the tag division, really shake things up. I'm sold.
Joe, how did you feel about all of this? And you've traveled like a lot, I feel like, over the course of the past year. Have you been to Titty City?
I have not. I don't know where exactly it is Titty City. Is it?
It's in Boobsville.
Right next to the Booby Burrow.
Booby Burrow? Okay. Okay. I had no idea.
I'll have to ask Allie.
It just is. Titty City just is. You drink the Savage sauce and then you get transported there. That's how that goes.
The true Casa Bonita. No, I like we were talking about Private Party. I think I'm hoping that this is the concentrated effort of pushing them as a real threat of a tag team. Having them in that short little program with BCC, even though they got destroyed a little bit, but putting them in that spotlight, putting them here as a callback with their history with the Bucks. I think they got new music as well. It sounded like new music to me, unless I didn't recognize it from the last couple of weeks.
Or a remix or something. Yeah, something sounded different.
And then I like the fact that they are, taking it a little bit more serious and not, doing their usual antics. So, maybe this is finally and then you have the Stokely watching them in the back. So, what's Stokely doing watching Private Party? And maybe he's going to help give them direction.
Would be interesting. Would be interesting to see him expand his managership to the men's division as well. But good stuff there. We move right along here to MVP appearing backstage. Earlier in the night, we get Mercedes Moné, who introduces us to a video package encapsulating the best moments of the past 5 years. It is just of her, which I thought was really clever. That is a fun little heel move. I thought that was very fun. Let's take a look back on the past 5 years, even though I've been here for about 6 months. That was cute. And MVP shows interest in possibly managing her. Of note, it feels like MVP is targeting specifically champions, and I love that. But here he introduces Shelton Benjamin, who gets a huge reaction from the crowd, which warmed my heart. I love Shelton Benjamin's work. I feel like when people talk about misses from either company, like Shelton Benjamin is the one in his prime years that if WWE, quite frankly, I'll just say it, wasn't so racist, he probably would have been the guy. But love him getting such a big pop here. He is the CEO of the complaint department or whatever, the leader of that, which I thought was fun. And they have that interaction with Nana. So feels like MVP is going after Nana specifically to get at Swerve, which I dig in this. But mostly this was just to tell us that Shelton Benjamin is here as confirmed by Fightful Select. No big deal. But it just made me so happy that Shelton Benjamin got such a big reaction. Ryan, your thoughts?
This is awesome. I think we talked about it earlier. I think that he's a good addition to any roster, and he can go. And I'm excited for the Hurt Syndicate, and I'm wondering if he gets tag partner, if he does singles. He can, wherever they want. This is a perfect place for him, and he's a big boy, so he's gonna have a lot of fun working with some of these smaller, high flying guys.
Yeah, there's a lot of matchups that I would like to see Shelton Benjamin against, because he also has such like a solid, just like pure wrestling foundation. Like a Shelton Benjamin Continental Classic run, fuck yeah. Like, sign me up for that shit. So some good stuff there. Joe, are you excited about Shelton Benjamin and AEW like Ryan and I are?
I am, and I am more excited about seeing fancy suits back on TV, because his suit was impeccable, and I know how much that's going to eat at you, Kate, because Bobby has still ghosted you on your request.
Look, I know that WWE contracts have different stipulations than AEW contracts, so I'm hopeful that Bobby Lashley will send me a suit. While he was with the Street Profits, I was campaigning for months for Bobby Lashley to send me a suit, because he wheels out all these beautiful suits to the Street Profits, like dozens of them. And I'm just asking for one little suit. And I told him I would have it tailored so that it looked nice. I wouldn't go around wearing it like a chump. I never got a suit. But maybe I should be going through Shelton Benjamin, is what I've learned, because he looked fantastic. And he handles the complaint department. At this point, it's more of a complaint than a request. So I should be talking to Shelton Benjamin, but
ain't no stopping you now.
it's so true. It's so true. Guys, thank you so much for sticking with us. I know this is a late one. This is a long one. We are talking about the main event now. This is kind of our old school hours that we used to keep. We're closing it at 12:30 here. So thank you so much. We appreciate it. This had a significant overrun. It was the overrunniest of overruns. We had a lot to talk about with the Warner deal in the beginning, and so much just general news about Shelton Benjamin and pending Adam Cole return, things like that. So thank you for sticking around in the chat, for listening this deep into the episode, because now we get to talk about Danielson Okada 3. This was a little bit of a wonky one, with the Continental and the World title both being on the line. The stipulation was, I literally forgot the Continental title was a time limit belt, because it's just never fucking defended. And also one time it went to 21 minutes, and that's just very funny. So against Pac, it went to 21 minutes. But if once the 20 minutes expires, it's a draw for the Continental title. But the World title is still on the line until you reach a definitive conclusion. Kind of tips us off to what's going on here. I didn't love that idea of it, but I did like the way that it impacted the story, because we saw them pacing each other's matches differently. Okada wanting to keep his title kind of came out with a different pacing than Danielson did, which I thought was fun. Right before that 20-minute time limit goes up, you have Okada exiting the ring, which lets him retain his title, which is so clever, but it also pisses Danielson off, so now you just sent Bryan Danielson into another gear. And then this match almost kind of really takes off in those closing minutes, in my opinion. You get some really, really incredible stuff. You have a Danielson Rainmaker that was as good as any of Okada's. You have just some really great near falls. I loved commentary saying that it took multiple near falls and their match in Japan in January, multiple Rainmakers to put Danielson away. Is one going to be enough here? Was really well done by Excalibur. Some nice callbacks to their first two matches in here, but ultimately you do have Bryan Danielson retaining his championship, even with some big fat jerks at ringside coming out to try and cause a distraction here. Not Bryan Danielson, people. Not today, but there's a distraction from Claudio, and Danielson gets the win with the backslide. Post-match, Okada attacks Danielson, and then we lose track of our notes. So let me just keep scrolling there. My apologies. I lost my notes. I'm sorry. Very, very obvious stuff. Nothing of nuance. Okada attacks Danielson, and Danielson gets jumped by Mox, Pac, and Claudio. And he gets saved by Wheeler Yuta, who issues a challenge next week for a tag match against Pac and Claudio. So The movement forward with Wheeler Yuta, he seems to be leaning on the side of good, on the side of justice. So interesting wrinkles there. Looking forward to whatever that tag match is going to look like. That should be a whole bunch of fun. But Ryan, close us out. I thought the match was fantastic. Very nice to see this. No broken arms. A nice follow-up to their match in Japan.
It was awesome. It was a 4 out of 4.
Fun. He peed a little.
I mean, we knew they could wrestle well, and they just lived up to that. I did see some things out of Danielson that I didn't think I'd be seeing, like when he jumped to the top rope and did the flip to the outside. Like, he doesn't do that a lot, so that was kind of surprising.
What, are you calling spots? Did you ask permission to call spots?
No, I do what I want, whatever. Yeah, the 20-minute thing was weird because you knew what was going to happen, but at the same point, who cares? It built a story into the match, and I liked that. Like, if you're really complaining that everyone knew Okada wasn't winning, so like it was really just about the story, and I think they delivered a great one. They gave Okada an out by having him get distracted, and then I think it was cool that everyone had to stop because it was hammer time.
I didn't love the 20-minute thing, but it didn't diminish the match for me, like, overwhelming. Some people were reacting like this was a catastrophic development, and it really, I was like, I'd rather that title just not be on the line, but it was not like this. Alarm bells were not going off in my apartment. Ryan's pun made a way worse impact on my day than that did. So, any other thoughts, Ryan?
No, I mean, I don't call spots except for one, but overall this is very good. I liked that Okada wrestled like he was buying time.
Yes.
I think that, like, it's underrated how that built in that he could have wrestled the same and he would have been like, okay, but he and the announcers knew that. So even they talked, like, Nigel was very good at, like, he was buying moments in the match. Going for spots he wouldn't go for just because he realized, just wait a couple minutes and I have no risk.
Yes, the commentary was excellent on this. I'm obviously a Nigel stan, but I thought he added a ton on this call. Like, the wrestler perspective stuff was so good, and then things like that, just like some of the story adds. He's invaluable in my opinion there. I think it's great. But Joe, what did you think of our closing match? And most importantly, do you think Wheeler Yuta is, at the end of the day, a nice boy?
Well, the match itself is solid. Like you mentioned, I thought it really picked up in that last third of the match where they started to exchange, open hand smacks and slaps, and I think there's some stretching of
shit. Yeah.
some stretching of Okada for a while. There's just a lot of stuff going on with it. And then the tombstone onto the chair with Danielson in his neck was killer to watch. But for being their rubber match between the two of them, I thought I'm kind of disappointed that the match ended with a distracted backslide instead of a more defensive finish.
Sure.
So I'm hoping they can run it back sometime down the road when Danielson's doing part-time stuff. I do like the fact that BCC cost, they obviously have issues with Danielson, but they also cost Okada the match, like you were talking about, having this, the reason behind the BCC's intent, and if that's going to bleed over into power control with the Elite. And I think this is a nice way to intertwine those two storylines.
I agree with everything that you said there. It is interesting with Wheeler because, if Danielson...
the Wheeler thing, I can almost see him, since he sees so much with the hammer tonight, with he didn't want to attack Mox, Claudio still didn't strike him. I feel like he could say, F it, I'm just going to go on my own. I don't need Danielson. I don't need the BCC. And
I feel like if he tags with Danielson, he can either establish himself on a good guy, or like he has to be the one to attack Danielson to prove to the rest of the BCC, which like would rip my heart out of my fucking chest. But the chat pointing out that this was Okada's first pinfall loss, or singles loss at least, which is of note for sure. It's for the world title, so good on him. But I love that it was a clean loss, but there were still, like, to your point, other circumstances at play here where it feels like kind of the BCC were the ones that cost this match for Okada. So good shit here. That does round out a very long episode for us. A very late start. So thank you so much for sticking with us. We really do appreciate it. Please leave a thumbs up on your way out. I'm not going to tell you about the t-shirts again because this is a long one already, but we do thank you so much for sticking with us. We did also just want to call attention to the fact that there's obviously horrific hurricanes going on, or the aftermath is certainly still a major factor in Florida and the Carolinas down south. If you are able to donate, that was something that was consistently brought to attention on the show tonight. We would also just encourage you to do so in general. My other Home Where I podcast, the super chats are being matched by Sean for the week as a donation to the Greater Good organization. They help transport pets in times of need like this. So if you're able to donate, please do however you can. If not money, if you're able to give blood, if you're able to show support in other ways, send supplies. I know that it is a like biblical fucking scene down there. It is rough. I talked to Cassidy Haynes from Body Slam, who is down there, and just legit traumatizing shit going on there. People finding bodies, people not being able to get in touch with their loved ones, looting, of course, all sorts of shit. So if you're able to support, please do so. Check in with your loved ones. Check in with people who you know that are affected, because it's a tough one. It's a tough one, and I feel like it's finally getting the coverage and wasn't when it was going on, which is weird. So please do. But before we get out of here, fellas, Joe, I want to know where I can discover some fun, zany serials and people's opinions on them. And I don't know where to do that. Could you tell me?
I don't know either. You tell me. I do. I did a new one recently, but
You did do a new one recently.
so yeah, on social media @_Asian Joe. In my bio, I have my link to my cereal review blog. You can go read up on some random cereals, and including the latest one was cookie butter. So
Yes, it was.
I still have one more. I have the Kelsey Brothers mix cereal still I need to work on.
Fun as hell. That one I am looking forward to, and it is full on football season, so looking forward to reading those. Running the Mark Order social media accounts, I don't know why we let him, considering the puns that he makes, but doing a great job on our social media is Ryan. And you also have some stuff going on individually as well, so where can the good people find us as a podcast and find you?
At Mark Order Pod on all socials. My OnlyFans page will be up soon if you're looking for me individually. And hereforhistory.com @_hereforhistory. Kate, where can we find you when you're not here, which is often?
You can catch me outside. How about that? Ms. Kate Fave on social media. You can catch me on Fightful Select for PLEs and pay-per-views, doing post-shows behind the paywall, as well as Mondays for your Raw review, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday on the Fightful main channel, Wednesdays. Here when I can be, when my other responsibilities are going to shows. I just go to so many shows because I'm so
Gallivanting across the country.
important. to exotic locations like Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania.
There's two names. Yeah.
It does. Have you heard of The Office? This is in the same general area as where that was filmed. So I am very happy, sincerely, to be back here. That's where you can find me, but you can find us next Wednesday back here at the Mark Order Podcast. So goodbye and good night.
I'll see if I do it right this time.
This concludes the Mark Order Podcast. We now return